lead. They smelled blood in the water, and they were ready to finish it off.
To your point, Royce, I just want to put into context how kind of unlikely this scenario was for Oklahoma City to walk away with this result. Given the stats singularly in this game, the Thunder, they were 3 of 17 from the three-point line in this one, and for the majority of the game, only had one made three. The second made three didn't come until the third quarter for Oklahoma City. 3 of 17 from the three-point line. However, they won in other margins of this game. How about 23 points off turnovers, 23 second chance points, 50 points in the paint. Those sort of things, those sort of plays add up over time, gave the Thunder just enough margin to get some stops, get the things that they needed in that fourth quarter.
And before I hear anybody say it, because I'm on social media, the Pacers, before they started fouling the Thunder down late, they had taken more free throws in this game than the Thunder had. So I don't want to hear about that it was about the Thunder and the free throw line or anything else. That's the kind of style of game that this was. It was ground and pound.
Yeah.
The Thunder obviously only took 17 threes. They lived in the paint. They were aggressive downhill the entire game. The Pacers' physicality, that's what they are trying to do to the Thunder throughout this series. And so the Thunder, that was part of manufacturing offense throughout this game. But so much of it was the defensive end of the floor, where it was not there in the fourth quarter of game 3, giving up 32 points, and the Thunder only manufacturing 18 points. It was the Thunder locking down on the Pacers in this fourth quarter, making every possession so difficult. You know, there's unsung heroes in this game. I don't know how many minutes Kenrich Williams played. I felt like Kenrich Williams was as impactful as any other guy on the floor.
Incredible minutes.
Just his physical. I mean, there's so many times where I'm like, I want Kenrich to stay in, and I want Cason to stay in, and I want Alex. We're all like, I feel like that guy's got to stay in, because you can feel the impact that those guys come in and make. And Kenrich Williams, his impact was very, very obvious throughout the second half of this game.
Yeah, whether it was just his hustle, the scrap, the fight, just forcing tough shots for Indiana, Kenrich Williams always bringing that energy. We got to talk about the guys who are also leading in scoring as well. The Thunder had 3 players with 20 or more points. Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and how about Alex Caruso with a season high off the bench?
And as AC has done throughout this postseason, Paris, we talk about 3 threes.
Yeah.
One of them came from AC, and it was timely. He just has a knack for hitting a timely 3 when it feels like things are wobbling. It feels like, oh my gosh, the Pacers are going to take this from 8 to 11, and it's going to start to slip away from you. AC just has a knack for coming up with those timely shots. And of course, the defensive end speaks for itself with Caruso. But man, he was just all over the court, just so clever and crafty, figuring out just ways that he can manufacture offense throughout the game. I mean, I don't think a lot of people necessarily had it on their card of Alex Caruso would be the 3rd leading scorer for the Thunder in a finals game, but
I think they'll take it.
Every point so huge when you can get him in these games.
It's so great when you see him knocking down those shots, putting up big numbers like that, because you know he's capable of it, but he always gets so much credit for the invisible work that he does out there on the floor. It's great to see the visible stuff show up as well. Great stuff for Alex Caruso. All right, our very own Nick Gallo got a chance to catch up with Cason Wallace after this game. Let's listen in.
Cason, what a gutty win. Tell me about how this feels right now, coming off the floor, seeing what your guys did in crunch time and getting the job done together.
It feels great. You know, we stuck together and we fought for each other. And we got the result we wanted. You know, we played the whole 48 today.
Tell me about the way you just grinded through defensive possessions, won the battle in the paint, and made sure you got the rebounds that you needed.
Yeah, down the stretch we had to clean it up. You know, they were getting the loose balls and they were the first to them, but we had to lock in and, you know, put more fight into the game.
It just seemed like those 50-50 balls throughout the night, whether it was offensive rebounds, they were yours as a team. Tell me about the hunger of this team during this game.
Super locked in. You know, down the stretch, when it mattered, we was there.
You guys did what you needed to do here on the road. Now you get to go back home for Game 5. What's this feeling like right now headed back to OKC?
Good. We're going to have our crowd with us. They're going to get us through it.
All right, thanks, Cason. Great win tonight.
Appreciate it.
All right, you heard the man. He was locked in. This whole team had to be locked in, and especially when it mattered. In that fourth quarter, the Thunder outscored Indiana 31-17 in that fourth quarter.
The opposite of Game 3.
The opposite of Game 3. And the Thunder holding Indiana. This is a really high-powered, high-caliber Indiana offense that the Thunder has seen really go off in fourth quarters. Held them to just 17 points in the fourth.
Yeah, and, you know, it wasn't like an emphatic comeback that the Thunder had in this one, kind of, you know, what Indiana did to OKC in Game 1, but it was similar in fashion where it felt like the Pacers had control of this one, and then the Thunder were able to really kind of turn the game around in a short span of time. I mean, I'm just recounting so many big moments in that fourth quarter where, Chet Holmgren's putbacks, Chet Holmgren's defense, so many different guys had huge plays in that fourth quarter period.
So many guys stepping up for Oklahoma City to tie up this series 2-2. Let's get you over to the press room so you can hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault at the podium.
True on the right.
Hey, Mark, Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Indy won every quarter but the fourth. That's the first time you've won a fourth quarter all series. What did you feel through the course of the game, and then what changed in the fourth for you guys?
Yeah, I just thought we showed great will in the game. I thought, we really hung in there in the third. I thought that was the key to the game because they really had the wind at their back. We had some deflating plays. It was an easy game to give up on, but we kept it within striking distance, 8-10, and then we were able to close in the fourth. I thought Lou, in particular, just set an unbelievable tone defensively in the fourth quarter. That was kind of contagious, but his energy, and he was just on it, and was very impressive. Got great performances from a lot of guys, but I thought he really kind of swung the game with his approach when he went back in the game.
First row on the right.
Mark, down 4 with a few minutes left. Kind of felt like your season was on the line there. What did you see from Shea to get you home?
Yeah, I mean, he's unreal, obviously. Really closed that thing offensively. He and Dub, did a great job there. Just execution-wise, the shot making, he was outstanding. But I just thought the whole team, that was an uphill game against a great team. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the league in the last couple months since All-Star break. And they're a hard team to beat here. They're a hard team to beat, period, obviously. So I just thought we gutted it out on a night where we really didn't have a lot going, especially offensively.
Second row, middle, Barry.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Going on what you just said, just how hard, it looked like everything was hard, even when you're producing points or even stopping them, just looked like they were getting better shots. Just looked like the whole night was just hard.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they're a great team. There's, again, one of the best teams since All-Star break. They've been on an incredible run in these playoffs. They play with unbelievable confidence. They play with unbelievable competitiveness. And I just thought they were super physical on the perimeter again tonight with their pressure and made the game very difficult on us. I thought we were able to tap into that in the fourth quarter, especially on the defensive end.
Second row on the left.
Daniel Belbia. So, the last couple minutes of the game, their offense didn't really get much going. What did you see from you guys to kind of take them out of most of their actions down the stretch?
Yeah, really good execution, made them earn everything. Just like competitive will, I just thought we showed great will tonight. Lou, Chet, Caruso was huge, obviously. K-Rich gave us huge minutes. Dub, all those guys on the defensive end especially. I thought we really made them earn everything. Came up with the ball, executed on offense.
Fourth row on the right.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports, back here, Coach. Along the lines on that defensive end, Chet down the stretch, continually in those switches, working on their guards. How confident are you when he draws one of those assignments, and what did you see from him tonight when he held up out there?
Yeah, he held up great. It's, we don't do that a ton with him because he's just so impactful at the rim. But he can really switch. And it's funny, when he was coming out of the draft, that was one of the, things that they really recognized with him is that he's very switchable. He's got great feet. And we just found ourselves behind the ball in a lot of plays tonight, and the switching was able to get that under control late. But we can't do that unless he can do that, and he was outstanding tonight.
Second row all the way to left.
Yeah, Anthony Slater with The Athletic. You mentioned in your previous Shea answer that you felt him and Jalen really executed offensively down the stretch. I mean, he did score 15 in your final 16. Are you talking about, getting the switches you wanted? And I guess how specifically would you say they executed really well?
Just, getting us to good spots, getting us into offense against pressure. And just they just played that two-man game for the majority of the stretch. And Jalen did a great job of getting us organized there, getting the ball to him, and he obviously delivered big time.
All the way in the back on the left, Candace.
Mark, Candace Buckner, Washington Post. There were a crap ton of free throws throughout the game. Do you think, besides your defense, that also played a little bit of a factor in kind of throwing off the rhythm for a team that depends on pace as much as the Pacers do?
Well, there were a crap ton of fouls. That's why there were a crap ton of free throws. I thought the refs did a good job tonight. Both teams shot a lot of free throws. It was physical. I don't know. I thought, that was what the game was, but it's a physical game, on both ends of the floor for both teams.
Third row here on the right.
Rohan Nocturne, NBC News. You mentioned in the third quarter it felt like they really had the wind at their back. I think at one point they went up 10. You have a very young team. This felt like probably the biggest moment a lot of them had been in. How impressed were you that they kind of didn't let go of the rope in that situation?
I'm always impressed by our team. Great poise, great confidence, great connection. The communication on the bench I thought was outstanding. Most of the guys that weren't playing, I thought were like Jay Will, had an unbelievable voice tonight in a lot of those huddles. When you're on the road like that, it's just you. That's your unit. And those guys did a great job staying in it because that was a hard game, and a hard game for us. We just could not get a lot going for a lot of especially the third. And just to hang in there, it kind of showed who we are. I didn't think it was anything different from what we've been, but we definitely showed who we were in that situation.
First row all the way to the left.
Mark, all season long, you guys have prioritized the paint to be kind of recession-proof. What did you see in terms of just the resolve and the game plan commitment that your guys had, even when shots were going in for them and weren't for you, particularly in the first half?
Yeah, I thought we kind of manufactured that win, with the defense down the stretch, certainly, but, paint defense, second chance points. We're 3 for 17 from 3, but we got to the paint ourselves and, like I said, just kind of scraped together enough to win the game. And you got to be able to win games like that. It's not always going to be pretty, especially in the playoffs against a great team on the road.
First row right here, Jenny.
Hey, Mark. Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. You mentioned Alex in passing, but he scores 20 and hits 7 of 9 shots. I mean, in addition to all the defense, what about his game tonight maybe helped not only, young guys in a tough situation, but just, the tangibles that he brought tonight?
No, he's a competitive monster, clearly. And he's proven that time and again over his career, certainly in these playoffs. But he was huge tonight, offensively, even early in the game. But yeah, both ends help on ball. He's just, I can't say enough about him as a competitor.
Ramona, third row.
Mark, Ramona Shelburne, ESPN. What's Shea's demeanor like at the end of games like that, especially towards when it was really tight and he went on that 5-point flourish and stuff in the huddles?
Same demeanor as always. You really wouldn't know whether he's, up 3, down 3, up 30, down 30, eating dinner on a Wednesday. He's pretty much the same guy. So it's unbelievable. He really didn't have it going. A lot of the night he was laboring. We had a hard time shaking him free. And for him to be able to flip the switch like that and get the rhythm he got is, it just speaks to how great of a player he is. And again, it's nothing we don't know, but he definitely showed who he is tonight.
What do you attribute that to? Why is he always just so unflappable?
That's him. You'd ask him. He's just got a great temperament. He's always been like that, as long as he's been here. We've lost 40-point games, and worse, and he's been the same guy. He's just got an unbelievable command over himself. And I think his poise and his confidence is contagious among the team and has been for the 5 years. And I think Dort, I mentioned Dort, his physicality, his fearlessness, competitiveness, those two guys over the last 5 years, that's what they provided us and that's what they gave us tonight. They were huge.
Right here in the middle.
Joseph Pavone, Clutch Points. Coach, I was going to ask you about, who said anything in the huddle that was significant. You answered it with Jay Will. So I'll pivot to this. For people who haven't necessarily following this team closely, just speak to what SGA, like you said, the two-man game between SGA and Jalen Williams and how huge they were and how, what they do in that fourth quarter and late game execution, what you've seen all season long, and to do it on the biggest stage and arguably the biggest games of their careers. How incredible is that hearing?
Yeah, I just thought, we've really slammed the door on games for a lot of the season. We've done a really good job, and in games 1 and 3, we didn't do a great job of it. And, I just thought that was kind of our best rhythm of the night, is the stretch. And those guys had a lot to do with it. And so we got to get better now. That's a really good team that has really found some solutions against us. So as we go home, we have to evaluate things on both ends of the floor. But in the meantime, that was just like a great blood and guts win.
Second row, Barry. Right behind you.
Yeah, Mark, you went back to the big lineup. and didn't get off to a very good start. What made you went back to it twice more in the game? What did you like about it, even when things didn't go well early?
I mean, that lineup has very distinct strengths, you know, and you can draw on it at different times. You know, it was a point to get Hart more minutes tonight. I thought he's been helpful in his minutes. But in terms of the lineup, I mean, we go into every game trying to figure out the formula to win that game, and that's what we thought was best to win Game 4 tonight.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
All right, we're going to write this one down. This was a blood and guts win by Oklahoma City, and you heard Coach Daigneault. They had to manufacture this win. A lot was not going their way. We mentioned some of those factors that were really coming at Oklahoma City, forcing them to play uphill, but their ability to show that resolve, to remain unflappable, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going into that fourth quarter, led to this win tonight.
I mean, Coach Mark described it great about Shai. I mean, we're around him all the time, and it is kind of remarkable how SGA is so consistently himself all the time. I mean, this is in the heat of the biggest moment of his life. Yeah. And you've got this absolutely fever pitch crowd all over him, sensing their opportunity to win their first NBA title, take a commanding 3-1 lead. SGA doesn't really have it going and just never wavers, never plays out of character. You know, there was never a shot in that fourth quarter where you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that one. Yeah. He just consistently just plays at his way. And, you know, that obviously has a trickle-down effect to the entire team, and it allows them to be able to execute in the highest of pressure cooker moments like they did tonight.
And reminding you guys that this is a very young Thunder team showing some incredible maturity and poise in one of the most high-pressure situations in basketball. Incredible stuff by Oklahoma City. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We got more to break down from this incredible Game 4 we had here in Indianapolis. We'll be right back right after this.
My doctor is my hero. My doctor makes me happy, makes me feel safe. It helps me get strong.
We're just so grateful that we don't have to travel out of state.
Oklahoma Children's Hospital cares for my child like their own, gives us hope,
and has our trust.
Last year, 35% of all auto accident deaths were rollovers. If you've been in a wreck, don't hesitate to call. This is why you need our number in your phone. This could be you. When you call our firm, you're going to get one of us, not some paralegal or office manager. Most lawyers, they take more money than their clients. Most of the time, a lot more. We don't, and we guarantee it.
With OG&E Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. If you're a busy bee, go with Smart Hours Daily, where daily price alerts let you maximize savings. Or how about Smart Hours Fixed? Just set it and forget it. Night owl? Choose Smart Hours overnight. No matter which you choose, with Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. When you reduce your energy use between 2 and 7 p.m. this summer, you help the grid, the environment, and your wallet. But you have to sign up to save. So sign up now at oge.com/smarthours.
Game day starts early at Thunder Up in the Park. Get ready for tip-off at Scissortail Park with live music, games, and giveaways on Monday before Game 5. For more information, check out okcthunder.com/thunderupinthepark. Definitely going to need all the energy as the Thunder heads home for Game 5 of these NBA Finals. And I'll tell you what, those Thunder Ups in the parks, they have been extremely fun, super loud, a lot of great energy outside of Paycom Center. But Royce, let's reflect a little bit more on this Game 4 we had here inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse, because we talked about the amount of guys that stepped up for this in this game. Obviously, the Thunder with 3 players with 20 or more points, but a guy like Chet Holmgren stepping up big time as well. We talked about Kenrich Williams and the minutes that he played as well. Just a very well-rounded performance by this group.
Yeah, I was going to talk about it a minute ago about Chet, and you mentioned it, Paris. He got banged up in this game. Yeah. Rolled his ankle early on a foul call. I think he went knee to knee or knee to thigh or something, kind of shook him up a little bit. But just the determination that he played with throughout this game. We got off to a great start in Game 3. Didn't finish Game 3 all that great. But tonight he finished it strong. Yeah. And a lot of that was obviously that huge block that he had, but huge on the offensive of glass.
Yeah.
Again, we talk about manufacturing points. Those 2 putback dunks, I think he had a third putback in there as well. Just a monster on the glass using his length, his size. He was also tremendous on switches out with Tyrese Halliburton. He had Halliburton out there dancing at half court, and 7'1" Chet Holmgren with him step for step, never letting him get to that step back three that he really wanted to get to. The one that he got to, Halliburton left way short. So Chet Holmgren, I mean, you know, the numbers don't necessarily pop off the page in this one, but man, he had as big an impact in this one as anybody else did.
Well, I just keep thinking of the offensive rebounds in this game and how big of a role he played in that. The Thunder had 23 second chance points in this game, and in a game where you're only 3 of 17 from the 3-point line, those extra points, they matter big time. And the Thunder, to your point, able to manufacture and just scrape together extra points thanks to Chet Holmgren and his efforts on the glass. And we talked about him a little bit, but I feel like Kenny Hustle deserves a little bit more flowers. He's been on Thunder Playoff Postgame a lot, and it's not always because of his scoring, but because of his impact when he's out there. He just influences the right play on the floor.
He had 2 points tonight. I think he had a bucket. He had a layup, which was nice for Kenrich.
I think
because
he had somewhere maybe 5, something like that.
Oh, did he have more than that? Okay, it was good for him. But he got 2 taken away from him in game 2 that he should have had. So it was great to see him get on the score sheet for the NBA Finals. But again, like you said, Paris, it's not even about that for him. It's about the intensity, the physicality, the extra effort plays. You know, he's the kind of guy that, a shot goes up, it hangs on the rim a little bit, and he's that guy that may not get the rebound, but he's got his hand on it that tips it over to Alex Caruso or to Chet Holmgren. And just, again, those types of winning plays, they just add up so much in a game like this where possession by possession, you were just grinding through it. Again, we talk about Chet's putbacks. Thunder can't get anything going. They put a shot up on the rim, and you get kind of 2 free points because somebody with great effort there. Kind of reminded me a little of Game 4 in Minnesota where Chet was so awesome on the offensive glass as well, and the Thunder had to find ways to score in that one. But, you just kind of – that's how this game felt throughout it, is that Thunder just did a great job staying connected, stayed close there, and then once SGA kind of was able to shake loose, man, what a closing performance from SGA, the MVP for a reason.
I mean, and we've talked about it, the fact that the Pacers put so much attention and so much pressure on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we saw that a lot in Game 3. Shai didn't really necessarily have his best game. Comes out in this one, gets off to a bit of a slow start, but then, to your point, is able to shake free. What'd you see from Oklahoma City and how they were able to kind of find looks for Shai in that fourth?
Some of it was getting Nembhard off of him, at least, and letting him attack somebody else there. There was also some kind of like high post-up stuff with SGA where him and Dub were kind of running a 2-man game, so I think that was helpful for him to get in the middle of the floor with his dribble live, and so then he was able to, attack or get to a jab step. And, SGA is such a triple threat scorer, and you have to worry about him, stepping back to hit a jumper. He can drive right by you. Of course, you're worried about fouling him because he's so clever and crafty. So all those things, just getting SGA with a live dribble, I think, in the middle of the floor was really good right there. And then, of course, Dub, when you're playing that 2-man game, they can't sag off of him at all. That's how SGA got the 3 is they pulled way over Nembhard did, I think it was, and SGA hit Dub, and then they had to try to fly out to recover to Dub because Dub was about to have an open 3, and then Dub made a swing to SGA who was suddenly open. So they finally kind of got the Pacers in a scramble defensive possession. That's what generated that good look.
I'm glad you brought up Jalen Williams because the force that he played with in this game really led to a lot of great looks for Oklahoma City, and it felt like from the outset of this game, we saw him being really aggressive, getting downhill, and he forced Aaron Nesmith into some early foul trouble in this one. Aaron Nesmith ultimately having to sit down in this game due to fouls. And so his force and physicality, he finished with 27 points, but that was some great offense we saw from J-Dub tonight.
And Dub, I think he took 11 free throws in this one. Anytime he's double-digit free throws, that is a great barometer on his force and his aggressiveness. And it really just, I think, again, churns that Oklahoma City offense along. And, Dub was living downhill throughout this game. And, he had a couple mid-range pull-ups, but I don't even, I'm trying to remember, I think he maybe attempted 1 or 2 threes. He was somebody that was really putting his nose down and going right to the front of the rim as much as he possibly could. And that sort of thing, again, you're trying to manufacture offense any way you can get it. And anytime you get downhill under the free throw line, you're going to often draw fouls. And that's what Dub was able able to do, and that was huge for Oklahoma City. I think he made all of his free throws, too, which
I
was
think he
big.
did. I think he did. The Thunder were really good at the free throw line here tonight. And I just want to take a minute to remind you of the context of this one. The Thunder lost a really tough game in Game 3 in this building. And the Indiana Pacers, to their credit, they played great on both ends of the floor. And the Thunder had 24 hours, only one day in between these games, to watch that film, to look over those lessons, and try to control the controllables in this one. And it felt like the Thunder were able to do that because the uncontrollables were the ball was not falling from the three-point line. That is something sometimes you just can't control. Sometimes it's a bounce of a ball. And the Thunder, they had some good looks in this one, and they just didn't fall, but they took care of the controllable elements of this
There's
one.
a lot of teams, Paris, that I think would have been in that situation, been down 8 or 9 and struggling in every way. I mean, Thunder had 8 assists, I think, midway through the fourth quarter, which is just so unusual for them.
Very unlike
They're such a good ball movement team, but a lot of that has to do with shots not going in that you're generating. And I think there's a lot of teams that would just kind of let go of the rope there a little bit. And not even that they would just kind of give up, but it would be like they would start kind of forcing shots or taking bad ones because somebody feels like it's got to be me. I got to be the one that steps up and makes this play. And because of that, you can kind of distance yourself from what your identity has been all year. But the Thunder never did that. They never wavered. They dug in on the defensive end. They made every Pacers possession so difficult to score. And as they stacked up their stops, they were able to finally kind of crack through that defense that Indiana, and again, like you said, the Pacers played great tonight.
They did.
You know, in so many ways, they played great in both games on their home court here. And the Thunder were able to knock this thing up 2-2. You know, it feels like in a lot of ways that Indiana stole game 1 from Oklahoma City. Feels a lot like the Thunder got payback in this one and stole game 4 from Indiana.
This is what it looks like to play for a full 48 minutes, really sprint through that finish line. And that was one of the bigger takeaways we heard from Oklahoma City after Game 3. I had a chance to talk to a lot of the guys, hear from Coach Daigneault. Just what are some of the tangible takeaways? And they said sprinting through the finish line, putting together and competing for a full 48 minutes. That's exactly what we saw in this game here tonight. This young Thunder team not letting go of the rope at all, tying this series up 2-2. All right, we will be right back here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We'll hear from some Thunder players as we head into Game 5.
Hey, have you heard what's happening at Mathis Home? Get new lower prices all summer long with price drop alerts all over the store. They have all the latest looks at unbeatable prices. Like this big sofa with curved arms and 5 plush throw pillows. They dropped the price to just $5.99. That's an incredible value. And with their huge selection, you're sure to find the style that's just right for you. In stock with fast, free delivery. Look for price drop alert tags and save now at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Leadership starts at home. That's why Ford is from America, for America. And with a lineup of our most popular Ford trucks and SUVs, we're for Oklahoma, too. Including F-150, Bronco, and Expedition. That's our leadership lineup. Right now, get employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Ford, from America, for America. At your best in Oklahoma Ford dealers. Proud truck partner of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Riverwind is bringing the heat this June at OKC's favorite casino. So get the party started with the hottest jackpots in town.
Book a stay at our hotel for a weekend of fun with friends.
Win like an all-star on your go-to games.
Grab a bite and a bev at one of our fabulous eateries.
Go for gold with your wild card and play for your chance at $80,000 in our Sunshine Riches giveaway.
For the best summer yet and unforgettable good times, make it Riverwind.
Downtown Indianapolis, the site for Game 4 of these NBA Finals. The Thunder walk away with the win 111-104 to tie this series up 2-2. Now heading to Game 5 back in Oklahoma City. Speaking of which, let's take a look at this NBA Finals upcoming schedule. As we mentioned, Game 5 going to be back in Oklahoma City. That is going to be on Monday. Tip-off at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Game 6 back out here in Indianapolis on Thursday. That'll be at 7:30. And then if necessary, Game 4 on Sunday. That will be in Oklahoma City at 7 p.m. So the Thunder back to 2 days in between games, Royce. And as you look at this and what the Thunder was able to do here tonight, you know Indiana is There he is, right there, walking right
So I
behind
was looking at him.
And the Thunder the Indiana Pacers definitely going to go back and look at this game and try to take all the takeaways that they can. So you know they're going to go into Oklahoma City with a lot of energy and a lot of motivation. So the Thunder have to be ready to go in Game 5 back in Oklahoma City. All right, we will be right back right after this. Stick with us. We'll hear from a Thunder player when we come back on Thunder Playoff Postgame.
Let Love's be your partner on your summer RV trip. Fuel up, grab a bite to eat, and stay the night at one of our 90 RV stops. Reserve an RV spot overnight and turn on amenities from your phone. With over 420 dog parks, we've even got your furry family members covered. We're the perfect pit stop for your next road trip. Love's, the heart of the highway.
Last year, 35% of all auto accident deaths were rollovers. If you've been in a wreck, don't hesitate to call. This is why you need our number in your phone. This could be you. When you call our firm, you're going to get one of us, not some paralegal or office manager. Most lawyers, they take more money than their clients. Most of the time, a lot more. We don't, and we guarantee it.
Experience the sweet, vibrant flavors of Mexico in every spoonful of Brahms' new fancy sundaes. Enjoy a cascade of fresh fruits on Brahms' Tarta de Fresa Crema Sundae. Indulge in creamy cinnamon-kissed ice cream with silky caramel on the Chongo's Zamorano Sundae. Dive into strawberry paradise with Brahms' Fresas con Crema Sundae and savor each caramel-filled bite of Brahms' Sopapilla Cheesecake Sundae. Authentic flavors, bold traditions, and irresistible sweetness in every scoop only at Brahms.
Welcome back to Thunder Playoff Postgame. We are here inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the site for Game 4 of these NBA Finals, and the Thunder gutted this one out, walking away with a big-time 111-104 victory to tie up this series 2-2. As we welcome you back inside, here on the sidelines, right here in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, joining us now on Thunder Playoff Postgame, Cason Wallace. And Cason, the Thunder, you guys were down 7 points heading into the fourth quarter, and it felt like this was an uphill battle the entire night. What was that conversation like? What was the vibe like heading into that fourth quarter with this group?
Just stay together. You know, it's a 48-minute game. We can turn the tables on them, and you know we stuck together, stacked good possessions, and we got the win.
You know, I know you guys aren't thinking about anything other than the game right in front of you, but a lot of other people were thinking about how similar it was to Denver Game 4, backs against the wall, all those sorts of things. But even though you're maybe like thinking about the fourth quarter and how you guys want to execute it, how can you kind of draw on those previous experiences where you did go through it and you did come through in a clutch situation?
Yeah, we definitely mentioned that. Like, we've been here before, and we've got the results we wanted. So we know what it takes, and, you know, we got to do it in order, you know, to take a win on the road.
Yeah, Cason, you guys didn't necessarily shoot the ball well in this one, just 3 made threes, but if the coach said you were able to manufacture a lot of points. How were you guys able to do that in this game?
Just being aggressive, trying to touch the paint. Just, you know, our 3-ball wasn't falling for us, so we gotta figure out another way to do it.
You know, as you hold Indiana, who's a great offensive team, to just 17 points in the fourth quarter. As you're starting to stack up those stops, is it kind of like you can kind of almost like feel it, like they're struggling to score on us? We've kind of got something cooking right here, and it's almost like there's a, you know, the separate of how a run can be on the offensive end, it's almost like there's a run on the defensive end with stacking up stops.
Definitely, especially when we shoot the ball like we did tonight. Defense was our best friend, and, you know, we had to turn our defense into offense. And that's what really generated a lot of those points for us.
Cason, this group is always so poised, so composed, so mature. And one thing we heard from Coach Daigneault is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just the same guy every single day. From your perspective, what's it like seeing Shai and his demeanor in these moments?
He's never rattled. You know, he knows the clock, he knows the situation, and he just executes at a high level every night.
And what did you see? I wanted to ask just about, too, like kind of the two-man game with him and Dub to kind of get both those guys unlocked in the fourth quarter down the stretch. Seemed like you guys were able to get to the rim a little bit more, the front of the rim downhill than you were earlier in the game.
Yeah, I mean, Dub was a threat late game, and you know he was going at him, and once he got to that mid range and to the rim, you know he's a hard player to stop.
Okay, so up to this point, you guys had 2 days in between each game. Did it help to just have 1 day in between Game 3 and Game 4, so you guys were able to get back after it today?
Definitely to get that bad taste out of our mouth, but now that we got the win and we get to, you know, clear our minds and get back healthy.
Last thing for you here, Cason. Now you guys going home. Again, you've been in this situation 2-2 in a big-time Game 5, and, you know, that feels like it can often swing the series. What are you guys thinking now as you've got 2 days off to kind of get ready for this huge Game 5, which will obviously be an insane environment in Oklahoma City?
We just got to get better. You know, we didn't play to our standard the whole game, and we know that's what it's going to take to get the win.
Cason, great game. Thank you so much for joining us, and congrats on the win.
Thank you.
All right, we will send you over to the press room now so you can hear from Chet Holmgren at the podium.
All right, questions for Chet. We'll start here, the first row on the right.
Hey, Chet, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. You guys found yourselves down 7 going into the 4th, and, I mean, obviously you can still win at 3-1 down, but just talk us through the 4th, and then also could you also talk a little bit about your the switches that you found yourself on a lot of guards and did a great job in the 4th against those guys.
We just got some big-time players that make big-time plays. I think Shea's shots were huge, and those are loud and obvious, and everybody sees them. But we had guys make plays that were, you could say, invisible, that, you know, led to a lot of good things happening for us. So that's a great team effort right there, great team win, and we gotta keep it going.
First row right here.
Joel Lorenzi with the Oklahoma. Chet, I want to ask more specifically about switches on Halliburton. Obviously, he's trying to put you on an island there late. What were you thinking in those moments, and sort of what did it take to sort of slow him down?
I mean, I'd just given up 2 drives right before that, so just trying to kind of learn from those and play them better in those instances. You know, I feel like I got a good contest. He was still able to get it off, and, you know, he shoots a high arcing shot, so, like, the whole time it's in the air, you're just, you know, a lot's going through your mind. But, you know, I'm just glad we were able to get those stops and close out the game.
First row all the way to the left.
Chet, I'm sure your whole basketball life, you know, there's been so much focus on your height. Did tonight you feel like your quickness impacted the game, you know, not just the defensive end, but all those putbacks, the second chances, it just seemed like you were first to the ball?
I feel like a little bit of it was just trying to have an intention of making winning plays, and those plays were kind of what it presented themselves. You know, I found myself in situations where I had to try and get stops for us to win the game, and then also, you know, try and, you know, make winning plays for us no matter what they look like. And you know, if the ball bounces the other direction on some of those shots, you know, we're not talking about that. So there's a little bit of that too, but you know, I guess I had a knack for being in the right spot tonight.
Fourth row to the right, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. When Mark was up here, he credited Lou Dort for setting a defensive tone in the 4th quarter, and he called, I think it was Alex Caruso, a competitive monster. What did you guys get from them and from, you know, their veteran leadership, their tone setting in the 4th?
You know, that's what I was talking about initially up here. We had a lot of guys make winning plays that can kind of be invisible to the untrained eye. It's not showing up necessarily in the stat sheet. You know, it's not like a highlight that's going to be played over and over. It's not one single instance, but, you know, Lou and all the other guys climbing up in the ball, you know, and really playing some hard-nosed defense, you know, not only sets the tone for us and all the other guys guarding, but it also kind of sets the tone for the other team. You know, just making things tough, and that was huge for us tonight.
Second row.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Chet, Shea scored 15 of the last 16 in this one. Aside from his shot making, what stands out about maybe his demeanor or, you know, composure in big moments like this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, but that's crazy. That's impressive. You know, we've seen it before from him. You know, we know that that's the type of player he is. But you know, it's still impressive. You know, that's very impressive. I'm sure that's going to be a very small category of players that you know, he's going to put himself in, or has put himself in, with a finish to the game like that. But as much as I am impressed, I'm not surprised.
Third row on the right.
Chet, Rohan Notker, the NBC News. To your right, over here. When you guys went down 10 in the third quarter, you know, the arena's getting really loud. Probably the highest pressure situation you guys have faced so far this season. What was going through your mind when you guys were facing that deficit, and how did you feel like you guys were able to weather that storm?
I can't speak for where everybody's mind was at, but I was just kind of thinking about, you know, how to make individual plays that could put us in a better situation, not try to get a home run or make it all happen at once. You know, I feel like we had some instances in the second quarter where, you know, and the intentions were right. Everybody's playing super aggressive. Everybody really wants it, but we were trying to hit some home runs in the second quarter, myself included. And, you know, I feel like in the third quarter and the fourth quarter especially, we really got to what we needed to get to when we got to what we needed to get to when we needed to get to it, and it was good for us.
Last row in the middle.
Yeah, not trying to hit any home runs, just do the next right play out there on the court. I love that perspective from Chet Holmgren there.
Yeah, you know, and Chet's a great example of that throughout the game and really throughout this series, Paris, in a lot of ways, as he's kind of learned and grown himself. He's been very honest and self-reflective of some of the things that he's needed to do better in some of these games, talking about slowing down and being more effective in his spots. But, you know, he just played off some great instincts. Chet is a winning player. He's been a winning player at every level of basketball he's ever played at. And a lot of it is because of the things that he's willing to do. You know, the putbacks were loud. They were huge plays, but it was also about switching on to Halliburton. I love the way that Chet put it about Halliburton shoots the ball a high arcing shot. So as that, everybody else feels it too, Chet. As the ball's in the air, it's like, oh man, is that going in or not? Where's it going to go? But I mean, just again, this whole team just being able to lock in and focus on that next important right play to make was what got this done tonight.
Now, I wanted to talk about this earlier real quick. The last thing before we wrap up here, because we do have a plane to catch right after this. The Thunder heading back home for Game 5, and you know Indiana's going to be very motivated. They're going to come out aggressive. What's top of mind for Oklahoma City heading back home?
You know, I think a lot of it is there's going to be a lot to learn from in this game. You know, 10 assists in a game, even though the Thunder were able to win, is not up to OKC's standards. They want to move the ball better. They want to put more pressure on the defense. I think that there's a lot of takeaways, though, of the way that they were able to unlock Indiana's defense in the second half here. So this wasn't just about shot-making variance or anything. This was ground-and-pound basketball of really trying to figure out ways to get the ball through the hoop. So I think that there's a lot of takeaways that Oklahoma City can build upon for Game 5.
Really encouraging, though, that they were able to get the job done despite not shooting the ball very well from behind the arc. Oklahoma City has tied up this series 2-2, and this NBA Finals, well, they're heading back to OKC for Game 5. And that wraps us up here inside a Gainbridge Fieldhouse in downtown Indianapolis. Thank you so much for staying up late with us. What a game we had inside of this building. Once again, our final score, 111-104, with the series now tied up 2-2. For Royce Young, I'm Paris Lawson. A reminder to join us for a complete breakdown and reaction following Game 5 on Monday from Oklahoma City. Until then, good night from Gainbridge Fieldhouse in downtown Indy.
All right, welcome into the Sooner Sports Podcast. Big day on the Sooner Sports Podcast, T-Row, because as we tape this on a Wednesday, just kind of because there's nothing we're going to miss. There's no games going on or anything right now.
We're not going to know who's leading the U.S. Open.
That's right. I can't tell you that Scotty Scheffler is in the